Have you ever wondered what a funded trader's trades actually look like? Well, today we've got Kareem here who's going to break down some of the trades he took on his Alpha Capital 50k funded account to make over 20% in profit. This is amazing. So we're going to break down those trades now. You ready?
Fantastic, sounds good.
Brilliant. We're looking at gold on the 1 hour time frame, and this was a trade you took on the 11th of April.
Yes.
Yeah.
So where I like to mark out, usually I like to jump on to the daily time frame.
Amazing.
Just to be able to find my buyers for not just the week but for the day as well. So I'll jump onto the daily. Once I jump onto the daily, I will look at the trend of the actual market during the week. For example, if we're in an uptrend, I would obviously look for buys. If we are in a downtrend, I would look for obviously sells.
Cool.
But if we're in a accumulation zone, I would generally tend not to touch the markets. But obviously gold this year has been
flying
incredibly in different type of aspects. Usually I have been looking at buys, but where I saw the market bring in different type of aspects, I saw that the market needed a restructure. So as you can see, we have obviously for the daily finished off on a high. We have obviously swept these previous highs on the daily candle. Once I obviously see the structure of the daily, I will then jump into more of a different higher time frame. I'll jump onto the 4 hour. As you can see, when we jump into the 4 hour, we can see accumulation over here.
Yep.
Some manipulation down here.
Yep.
Accumulation down here, and then we get our distribution over here.
Okay, so that's like power 3 type thing, yeah? Okay.
So what I like to get people to come into trading, I always make sure you understand the power of 3, because every single session is going to have a different type of outcome. If it's London session, you might get manipulation in London session, or you might get your distribution in the London session.
Yeah.
It might be New York Open, you get the distribution or you get the manipulation. Comparing what time frame and what strategy you have, it always comes down to AMD being one of the most important strategies in my not even just my opinion, in my experience.
Perfect. Yeah.
So I obviously start off with the higher time frames, even though my entries come more down into the lower time frames. I'll get into that more later on, but I will come down onto the 4 hour. I will then look for obviously the distribution, the AMD concept. As you can see, we've got some accumulation down here, and then we've got our distribution down here.
Yeah.
Obviously, we are in a uptrend. It would be very, very difficult and precise for you to go short in an uptrend like this. So this is where the lower time frame comes into play. So we jump into the hour mark, and you can see that we've got all of this liquidity, resting liquidity down here. We want to aim either for a retest back down to where the previous liquidity is. And once we do tap into there, we're obviously going to want to look for longs. But in my position, I'm looking for the market to restructure back down into that supply zone. So
I mean, it's difficult to, when price is pushing up that high, to try and time the top. I mean, I guess it's one of the things that people always tell you not to do, right? Is not to try and catch it while it's flying like that. So how were you confident enough to try and go short when I guess everyone would be saying it's going up? Yeah.
No, I totally agree. The reason being where I knew where to go short is obviously technical analysis is very important. How to read a chart is very, very important 100%. In trading. But where a lot of people go wrong, it's not just about technicals, it's about economic data. Economic data is very, very important in trading. Where I first got into trading, I never actually understood the economic sides till I really, really got into it. And for example, Trump becoming the president. If you look at the reign Biden had, we never ever had this type of manipulation, distribution. We never had any of this kind of volatility in the markets since pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And that's from just doing back testing, from me just doing my own research. Like everyone watching this today, you can look and go and take your back test and how you use your strategy, you can use that from 5, 6 years. You can genuinely go and look it up and see where your strategy will still be in place. Like your strategy, my strategy, we might not have the same strategy, but no matter what, we can implement things from different type of things and put it into it.
Yeah.
But it's not always going to come down to, my technical analysis is going to win me the trade. Economic data is very, very important as well.
So how do you keep an eye on the economic data? Do you mean like just individual news releases or more like sentiment type
So
things?
yeah, a bit of both. So obviously, more recently we've had obviously the wars going on.
Yeah.
That has a massive, massive impact, especially because we are currently looking at gold. It has a massive impact always on gold.
Yeah.
Especially with, for example, Ukraine, Russia, Pakistan, India, all of this conflict, it makes gold rise 10 times harder than it is. And that's why we are seeing gold rise to all-time highs each week. We're seeing gold just past all-time highs.
Because people see it as like a safe thing to invest in, right? When there's uncertainty in the world.
100%. It's always a safe bet.
Yeah.
But
which comes back to why did you short it?
Yeah. So coming back onto why I short it. So obviously we can see that obviously we are in a uptrend. So when I have jumped into the lower time frame, I can see that the market doesn't want to push up. We can just see over here, we can just see accumulation.
Yeah.
So this was during just Asia. So this was very, very early in the morning.
Yeah.
So where the distribution came was already pre-New York, and then we started to see more accumulation. And then I personally saw what I realized, especially around the time, I can't remember what actual economic news it was, but it gave the reason of the trade to go so much down. And then when we go more into the lower time frame,
you seem to like, how low down in time frames do you go?
So the way I execute my trades, so my daily bias, the way I will look at the market, where I think the market would go, would always come from the higher time frame, the daily, the 4 hour, and obviously the hour is more of a lower time frame, but between
it's sort of in the middle.
In the middle, but I like to more say for my high time frames, my confirmation for the week and for that day would be the daily and the 4 hour, obviously the weekly, but that's more for the month kind of bias. I like to just look straight daily and 4 hour for that. Then I'll jump onto the hour to find my setup for the current setup. Then I'll jump down for my entries. I'll jump either down onto the 15, I'll jump onto the 5, but where I exactly take my precise entry would be on the 1 minute.
Wow. So that's proper multi-time frame analysis, right? You're going from literally the weekly, daily, but executing on the 1 minute.
But executing on the 1 minute. Where obviously a lot of people will look at it and be like, but that's just like gambling. That's just like you just seeing a candle go one way and just pick the other. It doesn't work like that. For you to be able to get perfect executions, well, for me, from the backtesting that I've done, I've tend to get more stopped out during for example, if I was on, for example, the 15 or the hour, I would find a great entry there, but I would more, when I was trading on the higher time frames, I used to be just only a higher time frame trader. I used to only use the daily 4 hour and the hour, and sometimes the 50. I never used to go underneath that. Where I realized myself, where I started to find better entries, I started hitting my take profits much more better, was when I actually started going on to the 1 minute. It's a big difference. You've got to be very, 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 very your risk management basically got to be perfect. With the lower time frame, obviously you will tend to get more volatility during the 1 minute. A lot of people can't make that decision in that type of time frame, so that's where the higher time frame comes more into place for more better things.
I think the thing that I've noticed about 1 minute and lower time frames and stuff like that is that's where the skill comes in, as far as you have to practice it in the live market. that's not something you can back test
I
because
100%.
you have to be able to make very quick decisions,
I
and
agree.
it's muscle memory. So
I agree. Because with going on to what you said, with myself, I personally, when I used to back test with just a demo, I used to struggle more back testing. Like with myself now, I'm more of a forward
yeah,
tester.
same.
I like to forward test my strategy because psychologically, let's be honest, every person, even the guys watching right now, they will end up full porting the demo account. Like majority of the time, everyone ends up doing that. I'm not saying I do that. I'm not saying you do that, but majority of people that come new to trading end up going on paper trading and just risking 10 times more that they
Yeah,
would
we've all
on a
done it.
normal
We've
account.
done
We've
it.
all been there,
Yeah, we've
done
done
that.
it. Yeah,
We've got to put our hands up and be guilty for that one. But it's just actually learning how to have that discipline to be able to go on and to do that, for example.
100%.
We've now jumped onto the lower time frame. So once I jumped onto, let's say, for example, the hour, we can see on gold right now that we want to come and sweep down these lows right here and make a structure for then us to carry on going up more forward.
Yes.
So this is where then I will now come back down, like I said previously, more onto the 15 and come more onto the lower time frames to find that precise entry.
Yep.
So I'll jump on, for example, we'll jump onto the 1 minute. As you can see, over here, we've swept liquidity on the 1 minute and my entry was right here. I would aim for this trade, obviously wasn't my typical trade. I usually do risk a 1 to 2
Okay.
majority of the time, depending on obviously how long I'm in the trade. I was only in this trade for about an hour. Usually, I'm in a trade between, it can be 15 minutes to 2 to 3 hours. I don't really like to be in the trade any longer than that. But breaking down onto here, we swept, like I said, the liquidity down here, and then I was risking, just put my stop loss. Obviously, we are on the 1 minute, just above that previous high over here. Obviously, we are on the lower time frame. So if we go on to the 15 minute, I would then put my stop loss at that wick at the top,
Okay.
and then I would come and put my take profit obviously at this bottom here where we want to come and try and take out liquidity. Obviously we didn't end up going straight past it, but I did end up closing this trade for about 2.5k, so I made about 250 pips on this trade with my 50k account, and that was just after receiving an 8k payout on the same account. So
Wow. Making it happen.
making it happen, it was a fantastic trade. Very simple, obviously. We were just waiting for a market structure shift, just on the lower time frame. Obviously, on the higher time frame, we can't see that there is a breaker structure. But when you do go down onto more the lower time frame, we do see straight away a breaker structure,
Yeah.
for example, and then we just risk. For example, it was a 2 to 1. It was a very big trade, but usually I do risk a 1 to 2, for example. And yeah, so guys, I'm going to show you this strategy again on the same account. It's just the exact same setup, just on a different day where I made 2.5k again on the 50k account. So we're going to jump back on to the higher time frame again. As you can see, we still are in an uptrend, but now you can start to see some accumulation in the daily time frame. So where I look for to aim, I am more looking for shorts now, as I know this was the previous high, and I know that we wasn't really going to wick it out, as you can see from these two previous lows as well. We've got some resting liquidity just down here as well, which we want to aim for most realistically,
Cool.
as there isn't any support and resistance at that top, as this is over here the all-time high for the gold of the current month, even still till now. Still hasn't broke the structure even till this current date.
Cool.
So we got the accumulation. So when we jump back down onto the 4 hour, exact same thing. You can see distribution, accumulation, and we're just getting accumulation.
Yep.
I know that there's two things that's either going to happen. We're going to sweep these previous highs, or we're going to retest back down to have a break of structure and just structure out the market and just basically level out the market and just make sure that we can see what's going on. Now that we've jumped onto the hour mark, we've got some AMD set up again. We've got manipulation, accumulation, and distribution down here. Where I've taken my trade again, you can see the accumulation down here. I can obviously see that we're either going to retest the previous highs, or we're going to just break down back down to retest the lows and just structure out the market. So where I put my trade in, we jumped into the 15-minute time frame. And now I'm just waiting for a break of structure. Once I saw the break of structure over here, I then jumped onto the 1 minute. We then go short at the price of the exact same previous per high stop loss at the previous high, and then we went all the way down to that bottom wick at that low to break that previous low.
It's nice you can catch a move like that. And it seems like the same sort of time of day, right? Like just early after Asia.
Just early after, just London Open. Simple, easy, just AMD setup. It's very simple, guys. You don't need to overcomplicate it. Obviously, I can go more into detail where I add market structure shifts, liquidity, all of that. But I just want to keep it very, very simple for you guys, as the Power 3 is a fantastic way to do a strategy.
There you go. And having the strategy that you're executing consistently, same trade as before, just turning up, seeing the setup and executing.
Yeah, 100%.
Amazing. Thanks for the breakdown. That's cool.
You're welcome.
Okay, guys, thanks for watching. Make sure you comment below if you found this breakdown useful. Subscribe and like, and stay tuned for more content just like this.